What's up, guys? It's the Jury94 here, and welcome to another week of Quick Save Gaming's Behind the Stream, where we introduce you to some amazing streamers in the Twitch world and community, and just let you get to know of how they run their streams and what makes them so awesome. So last week we interviewed the one and only Quick Save Gaming's GIF TV. It was a fantastic interview. Got to know a lot more about GIF in that stream. So if you want to check it out, the VOD will be available for you to watch back in the Quick Save Gaming channel, but also will be posted on YouTube as well, so check that out. So this week, I'd love to introduce you guys to a streamer who I met and found early on in my streaming career, and he's always been someone that I've been looking up to. He is like the master of audio quality and video quality, and just all right down, just chill person. So I'm very excited to introduce you guys to HeycallmeClay.
Oh, hello. By the way, I didn't realize you were lying to your people all your listeners. What do you mean, master of audio and video? Totally make this up as I go along.
Well, if you're making it up as you're going along, you're doing something very well, because
thank you.
Honestly, so the way I came across you, and I think I don't think I've told you this yet. So I think someone I was watching or just lurking in rated somebody, then they rated somebody, and it happened to be you. And I flicked it on and I just started listening. And then within like the first minute, I knew like this guy, he's got the right idea. He's doing it right. Like your audio quality was so mesmerizing. I was just like, I like this guy.
Man, that means a lot. It's funny because I never know. I was actually thinking about this in my other stream, and I said to myself, because, as streamers, we all have our mild existential crises that happen every once in a while. Like right before stream, we're like, what's the meaning of life, right? Like, what is this? And that existential crisis in stream was like, what is it that gets people in here? And what is it that makes people stay, right? Those are the two big moments as you're thinking about streaming that you have to think thoughtfully about. Like, what is it that gets people in here? And then what is it that gets people to stay? And so I'm glad to know that the funnel, or that conversion funnel for you was like 30 seconds. So that's really great. It was like
I've never had that experience with someone. At that point, it was pretty early on, but I still haven't really had that experience with someone where I've jumped in their stream and within like the first few seconds of watching, I was like, this guy's great.
One day I'd love for you to think back into the deep recesses of your mind and let me know what the heck I was talking about, and maybe I can repeat that.
I can't even remember. Oh no, you were playing again. Maybe it was just you were just chatting with chat. I can't remember exactly what you're talking about, but it is your voice and like your clear audio that just nails it.
Man, thank you.
And that just is a big message for anyone out there in the streaming world. Having really good audio quality is probably the most important thing, because if someone's not watching you, they're listening to you. And if you don't have a very good sound, it's going to be hard to listen to. So it's extremely important to keep that.
I completely agree. In fact, it's something I've thought about recently, because some of the streamers that I watch and some that I thoroughly enjoy don't have cameras. And in my mind, I thought to myself, especially when I started, I wanted to have a camera, and you want to have that visual presence, right? So that people can connect with you, which, side note, later on in this interview, we should talk about that aspect in VR, because that's actually one of the biggest barriers for me. But to be able to connect with someone with their face and that visual identity is important. But I found a lot of people, to your point, who have really great streams, really great communities. It's because their personality shines really well just through their voice. And so, audio is probably number one, and video is the next close second.
Yeah, okay. There's a lot of everyone argues on different points on that, like audio or video being one or the other. But I think it depends on the viewership you're getting. But I could probably agree. Audio is probably the best quality.
Right. Video is probably close second. I'm not saying a distant second, right? But audio's first. Video in my mind is a close second. And then there's other subjective things, like how do you engage with chat? How do you engage with your community? What are the things that make you interesting, and why do you think people stay? Especially if you just have your voice.
Well, I guess it's a good point is like setting the foundation for your stream.
Mm-hmm.
And once you've got the good foundation, you can then build your building blocks like engagement and gameplay and all that on top of that, and your foundation's always good. So even if your engagement falls off, your voice quality is still always going to be really good.
That's the thing. I mean, in fact, there's a couple of different social media platforms that I'm on where I literally just say, people tell me I have a nice voice, and that's my description.
That's just it. Have you actually considered like voice acting?
I have. In fact, I was never considering voice acting until I started streaming. And it came through a number of people saying, Clay, man, your voice is really smooth. Like you should consider voice acting. Now, I haven't gotten too far in my research, but the short answer is yes, I've considered it. Yes, I've started to do some lightweight research into what that looks like. And then I've watched other people's videos and things like that. And I'm like, do I want to do that? Or now when I play games, I think, could I have been that voice actor in place of this person? Like, can I envision myself doing that? Or is my voice more of like a good meditation reading poetry over lo-fi?
Well, I've actually done a bit of research recently because I've been doing the Dungeons and Dragons streams. So I've been looking into ways to improve my voice acting ability rather than like the actual career side of it, just so I can practice my speeches and like how I talk in voice and stuff. And I forgot the point I was trying to make here.
You were just connecting on a mutual love for this potential for voice acting, because what chat doesn't know is that when you and I just did our pre-call, I was very jealous about how great you sounded.
It's like running your own business essentially.
Yeah.
And you just got to put yourself out there. But I've completely forgotten what I was at the point I was actually going to make.
I picked up what you were going. The short answer is yes, I've considered voice acting. It is something interesting to me. I've looked up some voice actors that I absolutely love, and I think they're just fantastic. Oh, you did? Okay, take it before it disappears.
Yeah. So there's different types of voice acting. You can do like character voice acting. You can do like video, audiobooks, instructional videos. So there's different types of voice acting depending on the voice that you've got and the kind of style of voice acting you want to do. So you're not just limited into like character voice acting. There's a huge, like if you think about anything in the advertisement phone, like people, when you answer the phone, there's people reading you messages like on the,
exactly.
Like there's so much that you could be doing as a voice actor.
Maybe I can be the next Siri. Maybe that's what I strive for.
You probably do very
chill
well.
Version of Siri.
Yeah, that's
my shtick.
Oh, I love it. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Clay.
Sure. There's so much where to start. Good Lord. From birth, I'm 38 years old, so that's going to throw a lot of people off because they're just like, what, that face? I know, it's just I use a lot of lotion. It helps. So I live in New York. I started streaming in 2020. It was a pandemic hobby that, since we were all kind of indoors and I still wanted to kind of connect with friends, I decided to dust off my PS4. And I just decided to connect my PS4 to Twitch, and just to connect with some friends and family and some coworkers that I'm very close to, and just to have them watch me play The Last of Us Part 2. That's literally how it started. Yeah, wow. So it started in about July, and The Last of Us Part 2 had just come out, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool to have my cousins and some friends just join and just hang out. And I had 2 followers, and there were 3 followers, and they were all family and friends. And a couple of times a week, I would just fire up The Last of Us Part 2, play through some of it, and just chat with them through my headset. And that's how it started. And then one day, someone was like, "Oh, what if you tried to do this a little bit differently? Like, what if you added a camera? What if you just took it a little bit further?" And one of the things that I think a lot of people don't know, or they may know about me, is that when I jump into a hobby, I go all in, like for anything that I do. So I actually I actually started one of my hobbies outside of COVID, my non-COVID hobby is rock climbing. And I'm a huge avid rock climber. I started in 2011. And the next day that, after I went rock climbing the first day, the next day I was like, we got to get all the gear. We got to buy everything. The same thing happened with snowboarding, photography. I'm like, oh, I'm interested in photography. So I'm going to do all the things. Sorry, probably my wife in the background, just heating up some food. But
I can't hear.
yeah, this is actually part of the story, right? Like a lot of people have streaming rooms, and the way I made this work is to literally just pop it right into my living room, right in the midst of all of it. So it's one of those bits.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. So what kind of games do you normally play in your stream?
Okay, so this is the exciting part. Is it the exciting part? We'll find out.
I think this is all pretty exciting.
It's always pretty exciting. I'm really excited to do this. I'm a huge talker. So the games that I love are single player, story driven games. I absolutely adore those kind of things. And so my stream started off playing a little bit of The Last of Us Part 2, but we really got into the beginnings of my stream playing Days Gone, which I actually really love. It gets mixed reviews. I love Days Gone. And I spent a lot of time playing Days Gone, played a little bit of God of War in the beginning, then moved to The Last of Us Part 2. And so all of those single player, third person, story driven games are my jam. I also I loved Spider-Man Miles Morales, and the Spider-Man games are really, really good, but Miles Morales is like one of my favorites of all time. And
I still haven't had a chance to play that yet. I can't get a PlayStation.
We need to stop this discussion so that you can go ahead and get that going.
I played the first one when I had a PlayStation 4, and then I stopped playing my consoles because I got a new PC. So I was like, I'm going to trade it in. I don't really need it anymore. And then I was like, I'll get the PlayStation 5 when it comes out so I can play the newer ones. Well,
do you have a PlayStation 5?
No, I can't. They're nowhere to be found.
That's a whole other segment.
I've got like gift vouchers for like EB Games here that I can go ahead and buy it. I can pay for one, but there's just
you got it. But no one has it.
None, and I don't want to pay twice the price for one.
I'm gonna totally make people jealous. I got my PlayStation 5 the day it was on sale. The literal day that PS5s went on sale.
Yeah, nice.
I had a coworker who, and if just to kind of bring everyone back to that moment, okay, the PlayStation 5 was announced in terms of release dates a couple weeks prior. Then the day comes, and they're not supposed to be released until about midnight, right, or that next day. But then Best Buy in the US, Best Buy and Walmart and all of the other retailers decided to open up the floodgates. I don't even think Sony knew that this was going to happen. Open up the floodgates. Everyone's scrambling. Systems are crashing. Everything is a disaster. The only retailer that held out and didn't open them sooner was Amazon. Okay. And so everybody else is a disaster. GameStop, everything is just a wreck. Then all of a sudden, the links for Amazon, I think, went live on midnight. And I was laying in bed with my phone, because who else lays in beds without their phone? Weirdos. Like, you have to have your phone because that's like the real. It's like that's how.
Go on now.
Keep up. Yeah. And laying in phone, so I get this ping from a coworker. He's like, "I just bought a PS5. Click this link." So this is gonna frustrate so many people. So I get out of bed, casually, not rushing, casually. Okay. I take a stroll. I'm like maybe rubbing my eye a bit because it's midnight. I turn on the light in the kitchen. I open my computer, click the link, and it's like seeming a little sus. And I'm staring at the link for maybe like 30 seconds, right? First off, this is so sacrilege if you're trying to buy something fast, right? Look at the link. I click it. Seems like it's legit. I click add to cart and purchase, and it just worked. And I was like, oh, I guess I just got a PS5. So then I sent the link at that moment to another streamer friend, and it worked for him too. But that was the last time that link ever worked. So that link worked for 3 people in a matter of 15 minutes, and then they were sold out worldwide.
Well, if you get any more of those links, I would love to have one, because
I don't even know what sorcery this was.
So the thing with EB Games is that if you go in and ask them, they say, "Oh no, you have to follow our Facebook page and wait for them to announce it." I was like, "Okay, yeah, that's all well and good, but like the announcement." So they did one last week where they announced it was available for pre-order online. It sold out in 15 minutes. So they then did an edit. 15 minutes later, sold out.
It is an absolute disaster. And I mean, the good news is we know this is a really great selling console, right? The bad news is no one can get one.
It's a great console, but it's not available.
Yeah, at all. It's the best thing ever. No one can get one. It's fine. And so what happens is that some of these console exclusives start to suffer, right? When you, for example, one of my favorite titles, two of my favorite titles over the last 12 months were Demon Souls, the Demon Souls remake. My goodness, well done, beautiful. My very first Souls game. Happy to talk about that. And my own, all the times that I sobbed in the corner. And then Returnal. Returnal was my second favorite. Yeah, exactly. And that face that you just made is the problem. Nobody knows about the game.
Because nobody's got a PlayStation 5.
Because no one's got a PlayStation 5.
Yeah. That's like one of my favorite game series. Well, I absolutely loved Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm stoked that another one's coming out because that game blew my mind. Like, and I played that on the PlayStation with my big surround sound system, and the audio of that game is just so cool, especially when you get that like really low. The one thing that like just gives me goosebumps with that is like the low bass rumble that comes through.
Yes.
And that on my surround sound system just whoa.
But turn the subwoofer up and some of those thunder jaws.
Man, it was so cool.
I tell you, I agree. I think that there's some games that really stick out as having some levels of perfection for certain things. And for me, I truly believe that Horizon Zero Dawn, and I have yet to play Forbidden West, but Horizon Zero Dawn has some of the best enemy design that I have seen in recent gen games.
And it was challenging to find them. Challenging, rewarding, and fun. Like Thunderjaws, like running up and sliding underneath their legs to get their underbelly. That's such a cool mechanic.
That is so cool.
And the first time I ever went up against one of those flying, I can't remember what they're called, the birds, and you're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. What is that? And how do I take it down? That's really good, though. I love when enemies do, when different games really spend some time a little bit on shock value, where they, sometimes like back in the day, think about like old school Mario or Super Nintendo, and the most way you defeated enemies were just you just got to figure out how to jump on their head.
Yeah.
Just whatever you need to do, just figure out how to jump on their head. And
it wasn't straightforward like it is nowadays. It was like there was an actual trick to beating the enemy.
And so here we are, where you're presented with an enemy, and now games are saying, do I fight this thing? Do I run? What is this? I just started my first playthrough of my second, I'll put this as an asterisk, Souls game, because people debate on whether or not Sekiro is a Souls game.
It technically is.
Yeah.
It's okay. You'd probably say it's Souls-like.
Right. But it's super hard, like the rest of them.
So I love Sekiro. I haven't finished it yet because I traded my Xbox away before I got the chance to finish it. It's one of those games like I play it for a good couple months and then get frustrated and leave it alone for a while and come back to it.
Yeah,
because it's so skill based. It's not like Dark Souls where you could just grind your level up and then beat the boss. You have to get the parries right. If there's a boss you have to get the parries. You cannot beat it any other way. There's no amount of grinding. It's all practice.
You just have to practice, and you have to get really good at the game. And I worry for my playthrough, candidly. I'm enjoying it, but I don't know how many games I'm actually good at. Help me out with a little bit of grinding here or there. And it's funny, I know that Sekiro is not a grindy game, but I found myself trying to grind to get some coins so that I can buy this prosthetic piece and figure out how to defeat. I'm currently at the first boss. I've already died 12 times. Probably gonna die another 15 to 20 times before I even get him, but we'll see. So Sekiro is a beautiful game, and even that has shown me boss fights and scenarios where I'm like, do I fight this thing? Do I run? I don't know. So more to come. Check out the stream. It will be a lot of crying and a really low heart rate.
Oh, so if you could play one game for the rest of your life, what would that game be?
Ooh, this is a tricky one.
It is. It gets me every time.
This is a very tricky one because I always think like, would I get tired of a game? For the rest of my life. So if I had to say that, to be very honest, it will probably end up being Half-Life Alyx in VR. I love The Last of Us Part 2 as a game. It's a beautiful story, very heart-wrenching. I love Miles Morales, love games like Returnal. But if I had to play a game for a really long time, it probably would end up being Half-Life Alyx. The hardest part about answering that question is that Half-Life Alyx is not a 50-hour, 60, 70-hour game, right? It's probably at most 20, 25 hours. But especially in all things VR, I find myself getting lost in the world so easily. And when I played The Last of Us Part 2, I remember thinking at the time, man, I really want to get back to that world. I love games where they just suck me in so much. I just want to get back. Even if I don't fight anybody, even if I don't like scavenge, I just want to be in the space.
Yeah.
And Half-Life Alyx does that for me. And I think a lot of it is because it's just such an immersive game. Now, I wish there was more content. I hope that Valve puts out another one because, man, I will literally buy whatever collector's edition I need to get for that game. But right now, Half-Life Alyx is probably my pick. Just being in VR, being that immersive, just changes things so much.
I've actually got I've owned Half-Life Alyx. I'm yet to play it. I've been wanting to play it on stream.
There's 2 games now, Jerry. That's 2. Miles Morales and Alyx.
Well, at least I can play Alyx. I can't play Miles Morales as much as I want to. Alyx is gonna be. I'm gonna have to hit it. I'm thinking I might hit it up this afternoon.
You should give it a shot. Let me know if you run into any VR issues with. How's your motion sickness?
Oh, I'm fine. Oh, the only game that really gets me is like Phasmophobia because of it's a little bit disjointed. But
it is. It is. Yeah, Phasmo gets a little bit wonky.
Yeah. Especially, I don't know if you get it
recently.
I don't know if you get it when you go into a loading screen and it goes boo, and the screen follows you around, and you're like, oh
yes, oh I hate that. It's so trippy. I have to close my eyes. I don't get motion sickness,
I do too.
But you're right. I have to close my eyes when that screen pops up, and I'm like, well, I'm waiting for it to be over.
That's almost scarier than the game itself.
It is so bad. But and so what's funny is I actually was in Phasmophobia a couple of weekends ago with some friends doing it in VR, and I had some of the most fun that I've had on a stream in a long time. Just playing that game with friends is fun. Playing that game in VR with friends is fun because we were all kind of new to how it would work in VR, and I was still very new to Phasmophobia. In fact, that might have been the 3rd time ever that I've played Phasmophobia. And so there are some quirky things that I didn't even know existed, like when you put salt on the ground, and then you have the ghost walk through the salt. I actually didn't know that only ghosts can walk through the salt. So here I am asking all of my friends in VR, did you walk through the salt? Did you walk through the salt? Who's walked through the salt?
Oh, you've ruined it already. I put it down 2 seconds
down. Why did you walk through the salt? So it made for some really good YouTube/TikTok moments because I was able to cut some of that up. And
I've seen your TikTok for
it. Yeah, that one is just like, I was like, did you step in this case? He's like, I didn't, because clearly he doesn't know either. So we're both lost. It's like, who stepped in this salt?
Oh,
it was really
good.
It was really good.
So what's the first video game you've ever played, or you ever played?
This is a good question. Because I'll talk a little bit about my histories with gaming. And so I've been gaming since I was 7. And the first game and system that I owned, console specifically, was the Nintendo, the original Nintendo Entertainment System. And I had Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. And those were the first games that I owned from a like mature gaming perspective. Now, I played other games on, I'm now showing my age, on 5.5-inch floppies. People remember what those are? Or am I dating myself? But really old computers. I'll simplify it that way. And so, really old computers. And one of the hardest games ever was like Ghostbusters 3. And you had this floppy disk and you put it into this computer and you play with your keyboard and mouse. And I was trash at it. But I started gaming at around 6 or 7. 7 was when I got a Nintendo. And ever since then, I was hooked. Now, I don't want to tell you this traditional story of, oh, I was.
Sorry, your video's just cut out. Give it a second.
Did I disappear?
Yeah,
Am I
there
back?
we go. You're back now.
Yeah, I'm talking something sacrilegious here. The gaming gods is like, don't reveal the secret. I had all the really classic titles: Super Mario Brothers, Metroid, Legend of Zelda, and the gold cartridge. All of that with these really non-ergonomic controllers. Those things are awful. I still have them.
The Nintendo 64 controllers, like what were they thinking? Like, do we have 3 hands? I don't know.
You know what? I was confused at first, and then I said, "This might be genius."
What? Genius?
The Nintendo 64 controllers. Let's have that debate in a second. We'll finish this one. So ever since then, I owned a Nintendo, had all the cool games. Then from there, I had a console. Every new console that had come out was I had a Super Nintendo. I had Battletoads Double Dragon and Donkey Kong Country and some of those really, really great titles. And then I had a bunch of hand-me-downs. Like I had a Sega Genesis as a hand-me-down, a Sega Saturn as a hand-me-down. I also had the next one that my parents, because I'm still a kid, because I ain't got no money, right? New York City kid. I don't have any money. Next thing that my parents bought me was a Nintendo 64. And that's when I fell in love with Ocarina of Time. Literally one of the best games of all time. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's just
fell in love with
how, like, for nostalgia purposes, but the music, the gameplay, like overall, as far as an RPG goes, it's just set a standard.
Chef's kiss. I mean, to be able to play your Ocarina and learn different songs, and you happen to actually remember it, right? Like, I didn't have to go into a menu and select which song I wanted to play. I actually had to remember what song I had to play in the Ocarina, and for it to do different actions was just, it was what I definitely fell in love with from the, you're right, like modern day RPGs. And so I've had a couple of consoles ever since then. A Sega Saturn. My next favorite console was a Dreamcast. A lot of people would think that the GameCube is the next one, but I loved the Dreamcast. It was my first entry into online gaming. The game that I played in that was called Phantasy Star Online. And it was great because it was the first entry for me into console online gaming, where you actually like had to do stuff. I don't even remember what the game was about, but I used to play it all the time. And then it was connected to my dial-up modem. So my mom would pick up the phone and then I'd lose my game. Kids today will never know. They will never know.
Like they start getting lag spikes when someone's watching Netflix. That's the most they get.
Lag watching Netflix. Your family would pick up the phone and would yell at you to get off of your gaming console. You had one phone line. That's it. I'm going to raise my son that way. I'm going to say, look, this is how the internet works for you. All these weird noises have to work, and someone has to tell you that you have email before you log on.
So back on
a long-winded way of saying that, like, my first system was a Nintendo, but I've been a gamer ever since. And then things sort of slowed down in college, but we can talk about that if that was your next question.
So I'm just want to get back on that Nintendo 64 controller.
Sure. Let's talk about it. You mean to tell me that the Nintendo 64 controller was not the controller that helped redefine how we game?
Look, as far as, because it was an adaptation from, like, it was better than the old Nintendo's controllers, the square, the rectangular things. Yes, it was better, but like, I think the PlayStation wasn't far off that, so it had the 2-handle thing. So like, I don't know what Nintendo were thinking to have 3 handles. On a controller that's meant to have 2 hands on it.
Oh, but it's so classic. I hear you. And I was also very concerned When I first got that controller, the one concern I had was I hope that Nintendo doesn't publish a game where I'm required to use all three parts, because that's not going to happen.
Exactly. But I think that
Like,
the
that's
gaming was
not
at a
gonna
weird time between needing like using a joystick and the D-pad. Like some games, like the original PlayStation controller was just a D-pad. There weren't no analog
Yeah.
sticks. So like it
Yeah,
was a weird
yeah.
time between analog stick and D-pads. So they're like,
I agree.
okay, well, maybe some games will use an analog stick and then some games will have a D-pad. No games are going to use both at once. What are they going to need that for?
Yeah. But I do feel like, wait a second. You're right. So the 64 was probably one of the first entries into introducing the world into the analog stick, right? And I had a lot of fun holding that controller in that way. It was actually a blast. Very few games there. I think there was one game. I could be completely wrong. I think there was one game that required you to use the analog and the D-pad. I never bought that game because I would have hated my life. Because that's a weird way to hold it all together.
Oh yeah.
But yes, I was a huge fan of the Nintendo 64, and the Nintendo 64 introduced us to the Rumble Pack.
Yes.
Come on. The Rumble Pack? Playing Star Fox 64 with the Rumble Pack.
So, I never had a 64 myself, so it was always over at friends' house when I was playing those kind of games. None of them had Rumble Packs, and we had no idea what it was. So, like, the thing would come up, plug in your Rumble Pack for this, for the game, and you're like, what's that?
What's that? Yeah, what is that?
What is that?
I got a Rumble Pack, and that was when I was just transported to the future. Me, I don't even know how old I was, but I was like, whoa, you can feel the game? What sorcery is this? What is this craziness? And so the Rumble Pack was one of my favorite editions. And, back then, a lot of those consoles needed to have all these extra peripherals to kind of give you an extra experience, right? Like, you needed to have a game. Do you remember Game Shark? I don't know if they had those in Australia. Game Shark was a weird way to have like automatic cheat codes.
Oh, I've heard of
So
Game
you plug
Shark.
it into your console, and then you plug the game into the Game Shark.
Oh, yeah,
and
I've
then
heard of
it
those.
would do other magic stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's how we started hacking, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, we had all those things, but I enjoyed my 64. I loved the Rumble Pack. It had a nice weight to it. I even remember it. Nintendo just released the new version of the 64 controller for the Switch for their 64 online service. I have yet to purchase it, but I'm curious. I might get it, but I'm running out of space in my apartment for all this stuff.
Well, it explains like your love for VR, having all this immersion, adding products.
Absolutely. I fell in love with. I've always been fascinated with VR, but VR has always had a high barrier to entry. In order to get into VR, and this is a debate that I constantly have with people, is a lot of people don't know this, but when I frame it this way, it always surprises people. Do you know that the Oculus Quest 2 is the same price as a Nintendo Switch? A lot of people don't know that, right? Because in their minds, to get into VR is thousands of dollars. You need a $1,000 PC at least. You need another $1,000 piece of equipment, right? To attach to this PC. So now it's $2,000 that I've spent before I could even play the $60 game that I bought. So in order to start one VR game, it is $2,060. Okay. And so that is one of the hardest parts about VR or changing that perception, is that people just think, one, it's just unattainable, inaccessible.
Well, that was what I thought for a long time. Like, I needed to get a gaming PC before I can even consider it. Then I could have the right graphics card, blah, 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 blah.
And it's not going to support it. And then I'm going to need to find space to find the cameras. And I'm going to have all these wires that are connected to my head. And I'm going to get into VR. And let's be real, when you look at VR games on YouTube or on a flat screen, it's not that impressive. Because graphically speaking, the PlayStation games and the Xbox games and the PC games with the high end, that's way more impressive looking than the flat. So you need to tell me I need to spend $2,060 on a PC for it to look like it came from a GameCube.
But the thing is, though, like once you're in the VR, that's when the magic happens. Like
exactly.
you don't realize how good it is until you boot up
Until
that first introduction and you're playing around with the robot in the caravan.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, how good is this?
Exactly. And you're like, I don't care if these are GameCube graphics. I'm touching these GameCube graphics.
I've never been able to touch them before.
I've never been able to touch them before. Yeah, it's a little bit weird, but I'm here in this space now. So no one can tell me anything. And I think that is the issue that has been plaguing VR for a while, right? Is one, there's a high cost to entry. Two, it feels like a lot of setup and it's only like for extreme hardcore gamers. And then three, it looks like it came out of a GameCube. And you want to tell me I'm supposed to be impressed? I'm supposed to be impressed by that?
And then spend $2,000 on it.
Exactly. And so but to your point, when you put the headset on, your whole world changes.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds a little hyperbolic to some, but it is true. You put the headset on and you automatically are transported, literally, figuratively, however you want to interpret it, digitally, to a new world.
Yeah.
And everything is just transformed. And you can be whoever you want to be. Right now, I'm playing through Resident Evil 4 in VR. It's a really great port. I know that later this year, Grand Theft Auto, I forgot which one.
5?
One of the Grand Theft Autos is coming to VR. Yep.
It'd have to be 5.
Among Us. It can't be 5. No. There's no way the Quest would support.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Too graphically intensive.
Maybe San Andreas.
It's San Andreas. Yes, that's the one. I was thinking, is it Vice City? So San Andreas is coming. Among Us is coming. And what we're starting to see is with the reduction of price now, instead of having to buy a $2,000 PC, $300 and a few free games gets you into VR.
It's
and
pretty
now
good. Like the Quest, the Quest is like so accessible. It is so accessible. I think in Australia it's about $400, which is actually quite good. If you're saying it's $300 US, in Australia it's $400. Like that's a pretty good conversion. It's actually not bad.
I mean, and it's cheaper than a PlayStation. It's about the same cost as a Nintendo Switch.
And you can do it anywhere in your house. You're not actually restricted.
And you can do it anywhere in your house. I don't need to connect to any wires. I don't need a console. I don't need a computer. I just have the device and I can get into VR.
Yeah.
And so that was my first official VR. And sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes I feel like a fraud being such an evangelist for VR because I didn't have the Valve Index and all of that stuff growing up. I didn't have any of the higher end, the Vives and all of that jazz. But I truly, once I got the Oculus Quest and I got into it and I started to realize I can connect it to my laptop, my gaming laptop, and play Half-Life Alyx. And Half-Life Alyx, I jokingly say, has ruined VR for me forever because that game is so top-notch that it'll be very hard to meet that bar.
I'm getting really excited to play now because so the first VR game I ever played was Blade and Sorcery because I just love that kind of like medieval combat kind of
thing.
And then I was like, there's heaps of different VR games that I've played, and sometimes they don't port very well. They're a first person game, and then they've ported it to VR, so it doesn't really work very well. I think The Forest was one that was like that. Like
The Forest is okay.
You bend over to pick something up off the ground, but you're actually not just you hit the ground before you actually. It's just the proportions are very weird there. So it's actually, I find that game easier to play. Like I don't like playing it in VR because it's just too hard.
Yeah, but I actually tried to play The Forest in VR and I ran into like frame rate stuff happening and it was really weird. And when you have frame rate stuff, like when the motion sickness comes back a little bit.
Yeah, I think one that's The Walking Dead is probably the highest one at the moment, and actually one of the most enjoyable VR games and one that doesn't give me much motion sickness but makes me feel super immersed is Star Wars Squadrons.
Oh, that's great. I have not tried Squadrons. I want to.
It's really good. Like
it seems like it would be a blast.
It'd be the only thing I really wish it did. So I play it with a controller because it's just using an analog like joysticks makes sense for flight controls. But if the VR controllers could be used to control like joysticks in the game, that would be better. Like, and if you could actually like control the cockpit on a more VR space because it's ported. But for a
Right.
ported game, it's still one of the best ported games I've played because you can look around the cockpit.
That's awesome.
So when you're actually in a fight, like a firefight or a dogfight, you can look around and you can see the shit that you're trying to target, like flying around that way. So you can actually like, I don't know, you just feel a lot more. And when you do like a barrel roll, you actually get like sick. And when you see the planet, you're flying there, you go over your head.
Like, the best VR games make you throw up, everyone. That's it. If it makes you throw up, that is the ultimate level of immersion. You do not have to worry about anything more than that. No, it's funny you bring up a good point, because I think that there is this starting to become this. So now people have VRs. There is this mad rush on a number of different fronts, right? So how do companies compete with the Oculus, right? How do they do that now? So PlayStation has announced their PSVR 2, which I'm really excited about. I will totally purchase it on day one because if I'm going to be a VR enthusiast, I have to get it. So we're going to get it. And I'm one of the lucky few who do have a PlayStation 5. But this goes back to the initial issue, right? To get this PSVR 2, it's not a standalone headset. In order for me to play anything on a PSVR 2, I have to own a PS5. So I have to spend $600 on a PS5. And then I have to spend what could be $400 on a headset that will only run on the PS5. So now we're at $900 before I've played a game. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last part of it is that, and this part I forgive Sony because it's not really it's not a thing they can avoid, but where the Oculus is standalone and wireless, that you have to plug into your PS5 in order for it to work. Now, what that does get you is you get some really great graphically mature games, right? The new Horizon Call of the Mountain preview for PSVR 2 looks stunning. I wish they gave us more, but it looks good. And so I'm excited to see the graphical fidelity of the games once we get into it. I just hope that they support, I hope Sony will put money and support toward VR developers in order to make it really great.
Yeah.
One of the issues with ports is that people will do something simple like, I'm going to port this over and it's going to be a first-person perspective, and so a first-person perspective is just enough in order for this to work. The downside to that is that it's actually not enough to just make it a first-person game that you're just in. And I actually did a review of this on my YouTube channel of Hitman 3 in VR.
Oh, yeah?
And Hitman 3 in VR has such good potential. But when you get into the space, you realize very quickly that it wasn't built for VR. It was a ported game for VR.
Yep.
And the biggest misstep, in my opinion, for that team was that you can't use your left hand.
Yeah, that's weird.
What? You made a VR game where I'm not able to use my left hand?
Yeah.
Interactivity aside, if I can't pick up something with both hands, that's a huge miss.
Yeah.
And you've played The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which in my book is right after Alyx in terms of interactivity, gameplay. You feel like you're in the space. I felt like I was playing a game.
Yeah.
And
I think that's
the
the big difference between like with VR games, they have to be VR native. Like, if you're playing a VR ported game, it's very rare that you will have a good experience with it. Like, Phasmophobia is probably one of the very few that's okay. It does it well, but there's not many games that are ported that do it well. And there's a lot of different variables there. Like, there's obviously the interactivity. That's the biggest one. Like, with like games like The Walking Dead or even that one I mentioned before, Blade and Sorcery, where you can actually just reach over your shoulder and pull out something, or reach at your hips and pull stuff out. But like having to have a menu on your hand, or like the menus that come over the overlay, and then your view perspective as well, that can really throw off the game. So I know like
it can.
The Forest was the big example, like because the view perspective was so weird, it made it hard to play.
Absolutely. And I think that there are some basic things, for example, I think the way that developers think about VR needs to change, or bigger developers, because the people who do native VR games do it really, really well. They know what they're doing, right? Like Resolution Games is a really great one. I know Devolver is getting into publishing some good ones. And I know that some of the ports for the Quests that are coming out, for example, our Resident Evil 4 in VR is really, really great. Yes, GameCube graphics, but I love those GameCube graphics while I'm in it because I'm actually Leon. Just think about what if you were actually in that world, what would you want to do?
Yeah.
And Hitman misses the mark, not just with the left hand piece, but some of the interactivity piece. For example, some of the ways that you open a door, literally a push door, is to press the A button. I just let me push the door. I don't need the button to push. Just push the door.
I've got hands.
With my hands that I now have. Well, at least my right hand, because I don't know why you totally removed the left hand from the equation.
It's just a visual piece. It's just there for looks.
Yeah, it's just there. It's funny. That's the biggest when VR especially started to get into this later mature stage. Some of the developers and some of the leaders in the space would say, the first thing that people do when they put on a headset is look for their hands, right? And so because that's the one thing that kind of grounds you, not just in the experience, but keeps you like you're not playing a game, like you're here now.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a whole other thing about different places not having feet, but that's a whole other debate.
Feet's a different one, yeah. But hands is important. Like that's probably the biggest good flaw. Like the flaw with Squadrons is you don't have hands. So you have to use a controller, which is very hard to. It's just you don't feel connected to the game. I've heard similar things about this game called. What is it? It's another spacecraft one.
Without hands.
Well, it's normally a keyboard and mouse game, and it's a type of like space travel game where it's fully immersive. You've got to like command your ship to do lifting gear and et cetera, and there's buttons for all of this. But to play it in VR, there's no hands. So you've got to use mouse and keyboard with a headset on. So you can't actually see the buttons you're pressing unless you know it by heart. So like that's a big wall in between there. But like fully immersive game, but it's just the big drop point is that there's no in-game controls. Like if they could port it so like the switches are all, so you're gonna flick the switches there with your hands and then just use your hands as like real life joysticks.
I agree. That's what you want to do. And so I'm excited for the next gen tech, right? The Quest does a good job with currently introducing hand tracking into games. So now I don't even need the Oculus controllers. Ooh. There are certain games where I literally just use my hand and I pick up, move. And so if anybody's curious of an example of that, if you look up Cubism hand tracking update, you can see examples of people just using their fingers to move the pieces.
That's
around.
Really cool.
And so now we're bringing our hands, our actual hands,
without even needing a glove or
actual
anything.
Hands, right, into VR without a glove. I do want VR to essentially be more immersive because, for example, when you do reach out and grab that thing, in real life, there's nothing in the space.
Yeah. It'd be cool if there was a glove that had like, I don't know, like some kind of restriction. So like when you went to pick something up, it literally just held your hand so you couldn't close your hand anymore. So it actually felt like there was something there. I reckon that would be the step.
There's a few companies already working on a glove and they use air pockets to help with the restriction.
So it makes it feel like you're picking something up.
Exactly. You can't use water because then your hand will get electrocuted. But yes, they use air pockets and they blow up these. And if you look it up on YouTube, they blow up these little balloons that will reveal or at least simulate the restriction in your hand.
That's pretty cool.
So I'm excited for that. The gloves look hideous. Let's be real. They look
But
awful.
I mean, you're wearing a headset, so you can't actually see anything anyway.
It doesn't matter. But there's other things that continue to bring that immersion to life. There's B Haptics is another company that makes VR vests that have different 40 different points of contact so that you can feel when a zombie's biting you.
Exactly. Like that, yeah.
I love how we both went to the most aggressive thing. Like nobody wants to so that you can feel the waves of the water when you step in. No. When you get shot or
I want to get shot without getting shot.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm excited for VR. I'm excited to see where this goes. I'll get a PlayStation. The one thing that PlayStation VR 2 has that I'm excited for is there's two things. PlayStation is really good at haptics. Really, really good at haptics. And if for anybody who's a PS5 owner, you will completely agree and understand that when a game makes really good use of the DualSense controller, it changes the experience, right? To be able to have, your R2 button actually perform two different functions, because if you pull it halfway, it's one function, but if you pull it all the way down, it's a completely different function. Returnal does a fantastic job of that. Or in Sifu and Returnal, where you can feel the pitter-patter of the raindrops if you're in a space that's raining.
That's pretty cool.
Like, that brings the whole sense to life. And so in the PSVR 2, the controllers will have something similar. I don't know how well it will be, because the controllers do look a little bit weird. I'm glad that moving away from those weird light wands, that was very strange.
Yeah.
And so PSVR 2 will have those controllers. Yeah, you remember those things.
Yeah, you look like you're waving down a plane.
Yeah, it's like a real life beat. Yeah, exactly. You're waving on a plane, like real life Beat Saber. I don't know what that's about. And so they're going to have the haptics in those controllers, and then they're actually going to have haptics inside the headset.
Oh, that'd be
so
cool.
That you'll be able to feel when you get shot in the face.
Oh no.
Or other things like the
I don't know what else
that's
would
been
be
used. What else could you feel? What else could you feel with haptics in your head? The other thing, the real example, or the better, much more soft example, is
the rain. Probably rain falling on your face.
Rain, or the heartbeat of your character during a tense moment, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That'd
Baseball.
be cool. I mean, yeah, exactly. So all of that. So you're actually not getting that level of immersion. So I'm excited for the PSVR 2. I think it will help technologically move things forward that the Oculus won't be able to do, because the Oculus's value prop is mobility and accessibility, right? So, whereas the PSVR 2 can help move the tech forward.
So moving back into like VR and like gaming in the streaming world, how are you finding VR in streaming? Like I like my own challenges is that my computer probably could use a better graphics card, and I occasionally get audio loss. Computer wide when I'm streaming and gaming on VR. So like
I will tell you right now. Go ahead.
I find just VR and streaming just issues. That's
they don't gel as well as they could.
Yeah.
So VR and streaming need some work. I'm trying to find the simplest way to think through this. So the Oculus does a not so bad of a job. Because what you do from the Oculus is from your headset, you can cast the game to a browser, and then you make the browser what people see and hear, which is really cool. So it makes it for a simple setup, and I don't have to worry about a graphics card because the game is processed in the headset. I'm just streaming the game to the browser.
Yep.
For PC VR games, I think you have a Rift S, and so for a lot of the other ones like the Vive or the Index, where the game runs on your PC and the head-mounted display is kind of more the visual extension. The Oculus is reverse that, right? Now, the problem that I find so far, there's a couple problems with streaming, is that it's just the setup for me just feels so clunky. Like, for example, I have to buy a separate mic if I'm streaming a game that was bought on my Oculus. But if I'm using a game, one of my favorite games right now is called Wanderer in VR. It's a beautiful game, and I don't have to buy a separate mic for it. So the setup is not consistent between each, and that's what's been a little bit weird.
Do you use your current, like your Rode mic there for most of your VR games? Do you find that
I use my Rode mic for most of my VR games.
Okay, cool.
But I've recently learned that I can use my Oculus mic in the headset for certain games. And so the short story is the setup is a little bit different each time, and that's kind of annoying, right? Like, if I can get the Oculus One to work, then great. If I can't, then I have to have a backup plan. And then the biggest problem for me is being able to engage with users. I as a streamer worry that I'm not as engaging with my users if I'm in VR, which is sad because I love VR so much.
Do you have a way of getting your chat up?
And again, sometimes yes, sometimes no. It all depends. And that's the hard. I wish I could say yes categorically across the board, but I can't. For certain games, like for Alyx or for Wanderer, I can, yes.
Yep.
For Resident Evil 4, I cannot. And so if you visit my streams, I'm constantly taking off the headset because I'm like, how you doing, chat?
Yeah.
How's it going?
And
What's
that
going
on its own is so hard to like. It's one immersion breaking, but then like if you're a little bit sweaty from the VR and then you move it up, you got to like wipe down the.
Then your face is cold and then it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and there's I find that especially if you're having technical difficulties and you're like kneeling down by your computer trying to sort out like what's going on with the stream.
Oh yes,
and then you've got the heads up
completely.
Up here and you got the lines around your face.
Oh yeah, 100%. And there's ways to solve that, but yeah, it's really just not a comfortable thing to stream. But for me, it's worth it because I enjoy VR so much. And one of my general goals, is to introduce VR to more people because I think that if we can get more people into it, it'll just be a really good example. And reality is it will be the next tier of gaming. We love our PlayStation 5s and 4s. We love our Xboxes. We love our Switches. The Oculus will be a thing that brings gaming to a whole other level.
Yeah. So one thing that
VR in general.
I don't know if you do use Live for your chat in some of the games. So I've got Live on the back of my hand or on my hand.
Yeah.
So I can read the chat.
I don't use Live, but I use another one called OVR Toolkit.
Okay.
Yeah, OVR Toolkit, which does the same, where you can like look at your hand and see chat. I love that app. But to your earlier point, now my poor PC is running a lot of things.
Yeah.
just to keep me communicating with chat.
Yeah.
And I just have my little razor blade.
Yeah, it's quite hard to do it. And I think streaming in VR is definitely a tricky balance.
It is tricky. I think that the whole engaging with chat and having people see my eyes and see my face will be something that I just kind of have to get over and figure out a way to make VR much more engaging in that capacity. Because I do think that my flat games typically are a little bit more engaging for people to watch.
Yep.
That's just me. I'm just a hypothesis.
I tend to agree because most of the VR games that I've streamed, engagement level is much lower. Whereas if I'm playing Pokemon Arceus or Subnautica, like I can
Is that how you pronounce that? Arceus?
Arceus.
I don't know.
You've been saying Arceus? Because a lot of people say Arceus.
I just avoid the name altogether. You play that new Pokemon game?
Yeah, it's that new one that came out. The Pokemon. I can't remember what it was called yet.
Yeah. The one that's in stores now. Yeah, there's like 18 different Pokemon games. But yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, chat changes a bit when you're in VR. But I'm not gonna let that discourage me. So
yeah. So
more VR streams.
Getting back into some streaming questions.
Yeah,
so,
let's do it.
What do you do to keep your mental health in check?
Ooh, I take active breaks. I plan them out.
Yep.
So a lot of people wait till they've reached burnout before they do something about it. Or they push through burnout, which is also sad. Please don't do that. This is a PSA. Don't do that. The minute you feel burnout, just stop streaming for the week. But I'm telling you right now, and my chat and my community already knows this, I'm taking the first week of March off because I know that February was a lot. Like we did a lot of VR stuff. We did a lot of, I'm running a 4 in February challenge in my Discord where we're trying to beat 4 games in the month of February.
And you got Sekiro on that list?
Sekiro is not on that list because that would be absurd. Because I have 10 days left. You know how long it takes me to play Souls games?
Very true. Very true.
I have like at least 1,400 more deaths to complete before I beat Sekiro. And so there's a lot happening in February, so I need to take a break. And in March, we're going to restart and have some. So plan out your breaks. Take your vacation just like you would do any other job. Just take the intentional break, and then that will give you a little bit of time to reset.
Yeah. And what's some streaming advice you'd give to a fellow streamer who may be just starting out?
Oh man, that's a really good one. So there's 2 tips that I think are valuable that we've heard before, but I really think they work. When you are your authentic self and you build genuine connections, you will see some growth. I'm not going to say that you're going to see like exponential growth, but you're going to get people in your chat who are there consistently because they really, really like you as a person and they want to continue to hang around you as a person. So don't change yourself. Don't create a persona or anything like that, in my opinion. Be your authentic self because it's easier upkeep, candidly. Like if you have to create a persona every time, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that makes me thrive in my own streaming career is that I don't have to fake who I am. And, you know, I'm going to attract the people that will attract, and people will unfollow. And if they don't follow, that's fine, because that means that just we weren't a good match, right? Yep. And that's okay, you know? And so the next one is a really interesting tip that I stumbled upon while starting streaming. Yep. I think a lot of people struggle with getting the 3 viewers to become affiliate.
Yeah, the average viewers. Yep.
It's really, really hard to do that because you got to do that for a month, right? And so the way that I did this was and I told this at the beginning of the top of the hour, I actually had 3 friends who I just wanted to hang out with. 3 in real life friends that were going to come to my stream.
Yep.
And those 3, I pinged them all and I said, okay, I think I want to do this streaming thing. What days are you available? So instead of me setting a schedule for myself, I asked when they would be available to join my streams. And so when they are available to hang out together and we commit to doing this for a month, my 3 average viewers happen automatically because I've built my schedule around them. Now that you extend that out, like you really try to be a good streamer and really engage your community and build for the people who visit your community, because you know they're subscribing because they think the content's good and they really like you as a person. So I kind of like the perspective of I'm serving my community in that way. That's why I love to do things like giveaways and stuff like that on my channel. And so when you think about it that way, what times work for you, and then let's set that in stone. And so now those 3 individuals are they're my in real life family, so there's that. So they can't go away. Friends and family.
Don't unfollow them.
Exactly. So I can't be mad at them. Like I can be mad at them when they don't show up. Like, hey, you didn't show up. And then 3, they are now my moderators. Because they help set the tone for anybody else who came in. Right. So they know who I am as a person. They know what my values are. They know what I stand for. They, the 4 of us, including me, now set the tone for how this community is to become. And it's worked for a year and a half. Wow, I can't believe it's been streaming that long.
That's awesome. I love that. So based on your goals what processes are you taking to get there?
Ooh, we're in a very interesting space with the HeycallmeClay world. The first thing is that my goals are very undefined. If someone were to say, Clay, are you going to try to go for partner? Answer is no. I'm not trying to go for partner. If I stumble upon partner in what I'm doing while enjoying what I'm doing, then great. But am I trying to make this a full-time gig? No. Am I trying to push for partner? No. Am I trying to have fun and continue to want to do that? Yes. It sounds cliche, but it actually is true. And so, but at the same point, I'm not going to say here that I'm not going to sit here and say I don't care about growth. I absolutely want to grow. I would love to grow viewership. I would love to grow retention. I want all of that for sure. But is there like a big end goal that I'm like, yes, I'm going to quit my job and do this full time? That does not exist. So if my goal is to grow, I've been trying to explore with different ways of what that looks like. And the VR shift, by the way, my channel is not all VR. My channel is 1/3 VR, but my TikTok and my YouTube are 99% VR. And so one of the things that I've explored is, as we all know, to grow on Twitch, you need to go outside of Twitch, right?
TikTok.
And then when you go outside of Twitch, you now need to find a niche. So I've decided I'm going to try to push TikTok and Instagram with some VR content, and then YouTube with some playthroughs and some VR content. And so now I'm going outside of YouTube, outside of Twitch, trying to build up YouTube and TikTok. TikTok is weird. And
I find so
Jerry, I know that you're successful there, so I might need to just
not
collab
that
with you or
successful.
something.
I think I just got really lucky. I don't know what it was.
Really?
Because that 1,000 followers I got that in like a weekend. But then,
What?
yeah, I posted a video using a sound, and it blew up.
Wow.
And then I got the 1,000 followers over the weekend, but then afterwards it just tapered off, and I've been sitting around 1,070 for about 3 months now.
It's TikTok is weird. I'm
But
still trying to figure it out.
The biggest thing I can say is post content, and this is just from my own my own marketing research and my own how I look at TikTok. I see a lot of people post a lot of gaming content, and I did it when I first started out, and this is where I've noticed the most amount of growth is I was just posting all my clips. I'd edit the clips down into a game camera clip, and I'd post them all up. And then what I was noticing is as I was scrolling through TikTok is gaming clip, gaming clip, gaming clip, gaming clip, gaming clip, gaming clip, and it was just a streamer and a game streamer, and it was the exact same content. Maybe not necessarily the same game, but because it was the same thing,
but I was just the same visual cue.
That's right. I was cycling through it because it might have been the funniest clip I would have ever seen in my entire life, but because it was the exact same as the clip before, skipped straight through it. So I started noticing okay, well, what is the people who are successful at this doing? And I looked at what they're doing, and it was probably 10% gaming clips, maybe not even any at all, and it was all just TikTok content, which is
interesting.
Everything that's from your sound. So
let me get my notebook. Hold on.
Get your notebook. So that's what I noticed. Everything in TikTok really promote when you use sounds and use other people's content. So don't be afraid to use what somebody else has already done. Nothing is ever original in anything. No matter what you're doing, if you're doing gaming playthrough, it's going to be, it's not original. TikTok especially, it all rewards using the same sound. So if you're scrolling through TikTok and you see a TikTok that you think is funny, and I tried it. So my strategy is I find something that's really popular. So if it's a dance video, if it's a funny video with a sound, save the sound, then try and think of your own little spin-off doing the same thing, but then include a game, something that relates to your game or whatever your niche is, and then use that, because the sound itself is what's going to bring people in. So when people are scrolling through their
looking
TikTok,
at my TikToks.
So when people are scrolling through their TikToks, and they say, for example, I'm just going to bring up my TikTok now.
This is just us promoting our TikTok now, by the way, just FYI. Let's just be honest with the people here.
Let's have a look at one that I've liked recently. So it's got to have the right sound, and it doesn't even have to be game related, right?
So this is interesting. You're not wrong.
So
now that you've said that, I'm looking at my TikToks and I'm seeing the ones that sort of, I did go viral. That's my one claim to fame. I went viral one time.
Yep.
On TikTok. I've gone. So what? How many views is viral? How many views do we consider viral?
Depends on
what you're used to,
I guess. If it's more than
a lot more than what I normally.
You've got. So I've seen that video, and I would consider viral.
Yeah, that one I consider viral. 253,000 views on a glitch.
That's pretty crazy.
On a glitch that I stumbled upon on Hitman VR.
Yep. So the thing is, you find what other people are doing and take the sounds, save the sounds, and then come up with your own variation of that video and post that up.
Yeah.
Okay. Because TikTok promotes activity. So if your TikTok gets a few likes initially, it's going to bump it up to people's For You's page. And the more popular that sound is, the more likely it's going to appear on other people's. Because say if you're scrolling through TikTok and you like a video with that sound, it's then going to go, okay, you like that sound and that video, so we're going to show you more relatable content to that. So then you're going to see another video with that sound, and then so on and so forth. So if you keep making sounds that have videos with popular sounds, you'll start seeing more people. Eventually, you build yourself a followage of people that whenever you post something funny and random, so gameplay content, and this is funneling in marketing sense. If you post your native content, which is your gaming clip, you've already got the followage there from unrelated content.
From the other stuff, right.
So you're essentially setting your funnel out. So the middle of your funnel is your gaming content, and your goal is to try and get people from TikTok to Twitch. That's just your goal here.
That's the ideal goal.
But if you're posting just your primary content, you're limiting your target audience because you're only targeting people who like that content, and it's saturated. And as we said before, there's so many people are posting the exact same shit. You're just going to keep scrolling through.
Absolutely.
So you got to diversify. So you step out your funnel once and you go game related, but along the lines of what's popular. So you find things that are like related to that gaming content, along with a few funny sounds, and then you just do unrelated gaming content. So like, so if there's something that
that's what I'm gonna try.
Yeah, if you think that's funny and it doesn't have to be related to games. If you can put a little gaming spin on there, that's fine. But it doesn't have to have anything to do with gaming. If it's funny and it's popular, just do it because it's gonna pop up on other people's For You page. They're gonna like you because of something else, and then because they've already liked you, when you post your other content, they're gonna see your other stuff, and then that's when you funnel them in.
Challenge accepted. It's funny. I actually just finished conducting a non-scientific test about this. And so for anybody who follows me on any of those platforms, you've seen my Phasmophobia clips. I was trying to test a couple of things where I said, okay, what if I posted all 6 clips at the same time and they all have different levels of humor to them, but I'll post all of them at the same time on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts, just to see what would happen. And the results were vastly different between each of the 3 platforms, which in theory, if we're talking about critical mass, because each of these platforms has reached critical mass from viewership, they should all have similar results because the same video should be funny to a subset of people anywhere, right? But that wasn't the case. So look out on my Twitter. I'll be posting a long thread about that.
It really comes down to how, like, it's the exposure, really. Like the content, if it's funny, most people find it funny, but you've got to get it in front of people. That's the hard part.
Exactly.
Posting like a whole bunch of clips at the same time is generally not a good idea because
I agree.
Because people only see one, really.
I agree. I hate it. And I see a lot of influencers who are like, post 3 to 5 TikToks a day. And I'm like, wait, hold on a second.
Well, so 3 to 5 TikToks a day over the day. So do one in the morning, lunchtime, and night. That's how you would do that. You don't post them all at the same
Jerry,
time.
you didn't tell me that you were an expert. So now we're going to have a separate chat about this. We're going to have to talk. I need to refine my TikTok strategy. It's my weakest arm in my marketing.
All right, we can talk about that in more detail. But essentially, you want to post at peak times so people can see like if you think about when are you on TikTok? Like casually.
You can't ask me that. It's usually when I'm doing like prepping something for my son, right when I wake up, maybe right before I go to sleep.
Yep.
Something like that.
So that's the time when you post. Because
that's 6:30 a.m. everybody.
6:30. So in the morning, people wake up, they're scrolling through TikTok. When you're going to bed, scrolling through TikTok. That's when the majority of people are
when you're on the toilet, let's call it out. It's going to TikTok.
Well, that's a little bit more trickier because you can't really pick when people are going to be on the toilet. But the majority of people are most active on TikTok between probably 8 to 12 p.m. So if you post at 8 o'clock, you're going to hit that wave of viewership. And you want to get in front of people, you want people to like it, and you want that immediate engagement. If you post 3 clips all at once, the first clip might do fine, but if you've spammed it, the second 2 are going to go. They're just going to disappear. So you've wasted that content. Lunchtime's a good one because between 12 and 1, that's when people are on lunch break during their workday. So they're scrolling through TikTok, just killing time. In the morning, between 7 and 8 in the morning, because that's that kind of weird time between getting the kids ready for school and
I imagine that you have a whiteboard behind you that has this entire thing scripted out.
It's a lot of it's in the head.
All right, so that's going to be my next phase of testing. We're going to post at different times once I get something.
Experiment with different times.
So you and I got to do some Phasmophobia VR streams, get some more content, and then we're going to try this again.
That sounds great. I look forward to that. So that is if you want, we can definitely have more of a chat.
I will.
Yeah.
You think I'm kidding? I'm going to be reaching out to you because I'm curious about it.
100%. Now, if you could be any game character, who would you be?
So strange. I've literally never thought of that. Who thinks of this?
This was a bonus question asked by a GIF last week.
If there is a if I could be any game character, who would I be?
It's an interesting question because, like, if you think about like the character as like just on the surface, then you'd pick a lot of characters. But then if you were to go, okay, but what if I had all of their traits?
My issue is this. My issue is this. Most of the characters that I've played in games that I enjoy have some significant emotional trauma, and I don't want to be in their shoes.
Okay.
Maybe I'd be Aloy.
Aloy?
She seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aloy is probably a safe bet. Like, she's pretty dope. She's trained all her life. She's got something to prove. She's pretty much the people's hero at this point for saving the world. And whatever works out for Horizon. And she's got no issues with stamina.
If you could,
because she can run the entire
along the lines of the same question, if you could have like the powers or ability or live in the world of a game character, who would that be? Because that way it's a little bit more less subjective to.
Oh yeah. Like, not to the actual person.
Because we got
like, I don't want the emotional damage from my characters. I really don't.
Emotional damage. So Plates is in the chat and he said Miles Morales, and like that would be cool. Like Spider-Man. Having Spider-Man powers would be
that's
dope.
it.
I mean,
why do my people know me better than me? I couldn't even think of it. Yes, I want to be Spider-Man Miles Morales. I want to be Miles Morales. You have no idea how much I love Miles Morales. I have the Funko Pops. I don't even buy Funko Pops. I have Funko Pops with Miles Morales. I have a vinyl of Miles Morales. I just am smitten with Miles Morales. So yes, they know me.
I see. I would love Spider-Man powers, like to be able to do the web slinging kind of thing. But here in Australia, it just wouldn't work because we don't really have the skyscrapers like you do in New York.
Yeah.
Like there are
minor
no
detail.
highlights.
Minor detail.
I'd have to get in my
You
car.
would just be
drive
like
to the
running
city.
down the street.
Yeah. Use the traffic lights maybe, but then there's power lines and then.
What's so funny about the Spider-Man games? I remember Plays by P was in chat and we were looking at the Spider-Man game because it's a pretty close replica to New York City. And I've been in New York. I've grown up in New York. So I was born and raised in the city. And we would be like, okay, can we find this building? And some buildings we'd find, and in some others we'd be like, this whole area is completely missing. And then we'd notice small details like this street sign is completely off. It went from 13th Street to 80th, and I don't understand. We're still downtown.
Yeah. Where do all the other streets go?
Yeah, where do the other 90 streets go? So yeah, it's fun. But yes, Miles Morales. Obviously, living in that world is just me living where I live now. So that's not as fun.
Just
but having Miles Morales powers, Spider-Man powers, easily. I even mimic Spider-Man when I take out the trash. My wife makes fun of me.
I love that.
I love him so much.
Oh, that's so good.
Unapologetically a huge Miles Morales fan.
So, what's a quirky thing about you that people might not know?
It's funny. Do I call it quirky? It's a weird thing, but we call it quirky because
it just sounds a little bit nicer than the word weird.
Yeah. It's I am naturally immune to the chickenpox.
Oh, that is quite quirky. You could almost call it a superpower.
It's very specific. It's oddly specific.
Now, I want to know how you know that.
How did we know? So, yeah, right? Like, how do you
know that you're immune to something?
How do you...
Well, yeah,
I'm immune.
I'm immune to getting
this is
specific
pretty much
disease.
what I do on my resume. I'm like, yeah, by the way, I'm immune to the chickenpox, so you'll never get it from me. By the way, I didn't even know kids get vaccines for the chickenpox. Back in my day, you used to just have chickenpox parties where you get all your kids together and just like everyone gets it. And that's essentially what happened. I didn't go to a party, but my brother had it, and I never got it. I always had severe eczema and things like that, and so I've always had random skin issues. But my brother had it, and I played with my brother because we were like 3 years apart from each other, and then I never got it. And so my mom never really questioned it. But then one day I actually got tested for it because I was like curious as an adult, and it
they say that if you get chickenpox as an adult, it's a lot more severe than it is when you're a kid.
Yes, but that got tested for immunity.
Oh, really?
And it was proven that I'm officially immune to the chickenpox.
Wow, you are like a man.
I'm a Miles Morales, but just
above the rest.
Yeah, but just not as cool. I'm like this one superpower that is not functional or
Chicken
useful in
pox
any
man.
capacity. But like non-chicken pox man, I can't even help you not get chicken pox. It's just me.
It's like,
It's just
what's
so
your superpower?
self-serving.
Oh yeah, I can't get the chicken pox.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's my claim to
that's great.
fame. I can't help you with it. I can't do anything with it. It's just, information for you.
So Banjo is actually also naturally immune to chickenpox. In the chat.
Oh,
Well, there
there
you
you
go.
go. There you go. And it's funny, you actually don't know. And people, this is a weird thing with people who don't get chickenpox. We hide it. We don't really talk about it because it's so out there. It's just so out there. But the minute you say it, you're like, oh, you don't get it either. There's like a whole community of people that don't get the chickenpox. I've never gotten it and have been naturally immune. I will find all of you. Let's get together.
So we get to the tail end of this. So what kind of bonus question would you ask the next behind the stream?
Oh my goodness. What kind of? Oh, that's a good question.
A question about a question. It's a good question.
Okay, so my question will be about VR.
Okay.
And so my question would be, if you can take any flat game that you've ever played and port it into VR to experience it in virtual reality, what would it be?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
that kind of because I was afraid that the question might limit people who only know VR, but
Oh yeah, no.
that's a
But
good
if
one.
you essentially, it's similar to yours, but it'd be like in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you could take any flat game and port it into VR, what would it be? And
So I'm gonna
first of all, I have to think about it for me.
I'm gonna pull out an Uno reverse card here and ask you.
Yeah. You know what's funny? The things that I love in VR are just absolutely just straight beauty and interaction. And while I wouldn't want to hang out in this space for very long, I would love to see a Last of Us Part 2 in VR.
That would be cool.
It'd be so cool.
I don't know if the game itself would work well in VR.
Yeah.
Especially
the
if you're going
gameplay
up
wouldn't
against
work.
like a Thunderjaw and you needed the slide underneath. There would be a hole in this wall.
Yeah. It's just crazy. But yeah, the Last of Us Part 2 and I would say Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West would be my two ones. But we'll see. Sony's coming out with a Horizon Forbidden West. Sorry, Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Yeah. So that's a VR game for
it will be a VR game. So we'll see. But The Last of Us Part 2 would be cool to see in VR.
So GIF TV.
I'm gonna totally eat those words later.
GIF TV and Plates by P have said Kingdom Hearts would be amazing in VR.
You know what's funny? I aged out of Kingdom Hearts. Never played it. Never got into it. I know Plates by P is a huge fan of Kingdom Hearts. But I could never. I mean, wouldn't that be creepy? All those Disney characters coming after you.
Yeah, just like Goofy standing over you. Oh.
Terrifying. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
I think what I would love to see ported in VR is Kingdom Come.
What is that?
So you might actually like it since you like really immersion games, single player story based game. So it's a medieval game set in, I think it's the 1400s or maybe 1400s of Central Europe, Bohemia. So it's historically accurate rather. So like it's based on a very specific time period of what events that happened there. But you follow the story of this character named Hal or Henry, and basically hyper realistic combat. So on the lines of like Dark Souls level hard, first person.
Okay.
So you've got to like really learn how to sword fight in this game.
You got to learn how to do it.
Yeah. So you wear armor. The armor weighs you down, makes you slower, but it means that you can take hits from people without dying quickly. Right. So
just like a Demon Souls.
Like a Demon Souls.
Just like any of the Souls games, right?
So when someone comes up against you, like it's a difficult fight. So you've got to like block and parry and learn how to fight against people. If you're fighting against multiple people, it's hard. Like it really enforces like that you should pick your fights and try to avoid fighting situations where you can, unless you know how to fight or you've got the right armor on.
Right.
Clothing.
And that's similar to Souls games too. Like I'm like, oh, there's like 4 guys down there. They're gonna totally overtake me. Let me see if I can like pull one out.
Yeah, like you try and change the situation to suit your. So you got to really think about the fighting situations. Have I got the armor on? So you just put your armor on and make sure that you're fully kitted out. But like the clothing you wear affects the gameplay, so it's more of an RPG.
Yes.
Full on role playing rather than Dark Souls, which is all about the combat. The combat is like one good portion of it, but then there's the whole storytelling aspect of it. Riding the horses.
I love it.
So it's fully immersive, and if you like immersive games, it's great. It's got survival elements.
I'd love to be all in.
So you have to like go to sleep when you're tired, eat food, all that kind of stuff.
Oh wow,
yeah.
all of that. That's kind of nuts.
If you are in a fight and you do get hit, you start bleeding out, you lose stamina. So if you do get hit in a fight, you
paint me this game. I'll add it to my backlog that I'm never getting through because I keep talking to people like you who keeps giving me great games and great ideas.
Like if it went under the radar a lot, and mainly because it was really hard. Like the combat is difficult, and you've got to like spend time practicing it to actually get good at it. So a lot of people dropped it because of that. But as far as immersive games, it is my number one favorite immersive game.
All right. I'm going to reach out. After February, I'm going to recalibrate what games I'm playing. I do have a long list. So after I finish Sekiro, which will be in like 2025, then I'm going to finally play Horizon Forbidden West. And then I'll be playing Elden Ring. Ooh. And then I'll be playing, at that time, to be honest, it might end up being May of this year. And then Forspoken comes out for the PlayStation 5. And so that's pretty much my next 4 games. Yeah. It's going to take me, and I play games slow. I only stream 3 days a week, and I only stream flat games twice a week. So Sekiro only gets 2 days a week, and then I dedicate my weekends, my Saturday streams to VR.
Yeah.
So tomorrow will be Resident Evil 4. It'll be fun.
Perfect.
Hopefully we finish the game.
All right. So we've definitely gone over the 1 hour time. Let's just quickly go to chat and see if there's any questions that you guys would like to ask.
Anything
you want to know about Clay. This is an ask me anything, but you don't have to redeem any points for it.
Ask me almost anything. You know when you get ask me almost anythings in Reddit and you're like, what are you hiding?
Yeah. What are you hiding? What do you not want us to ask? It's like, and then you know though, like if you ask a question, they don't answer it and they don't want to answer it. It's like, oh yeah,
source subject.
Yeah, so there is a topic there. There is something going on.
So let me have it, chat, or not.
Everyone's thinking. Oh yeah, so cool. Banjo did ask this earlier in the stream. Your headset, is it XM4? XM4s.
It's the XM3s. I got these before the XM4s came out. These are the XM3s, which are just great. I just love them. Perfect noise canceling headphones. They make my voice sound beautiful in my ear, and I hope it sounds just as good to you all. And my wife joked when I bought these because, you know, when the pandemic first started, we didn't know what to do with ourselves. We were like, what do we stay? What do we do? And the thing I wanted to do was, I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to buy a Nintendo Switch, which was very difficult. Much more difficult to buy a Switch than it was to buy a PlayStation 5.
Yeah, because everyone would have been buying them. And around about that time was also when, what was that game?
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, that came out. So actually, me and my missus both got Animal Crossing. We bought her a Switch Lite.
Oh, it's great.
At the start of so same thing.
Yeah, so same thing. It took me 3 months to find a Nintendo Switch. It was nuts. Wow. And then, and I bought headphones. And my wife was like, "You bought headphones? Where are you going?" And I said, "Leave me alone. I just need to do something with my time." So these are the XM3s. And we'll see. And then, I'll keep them. They're really great headphones. I'm a huge fan of them. They work really well.
Yeah, Banjo's got them as well.
Oh, yeah. The XM4s, I don't know what the difference is, but I know that those came out, I think, late last year.
Yep. So, and he asked, do you use them for your streams?
I use them all for my streams. What was funny is I started using them from the stream, and then they felt a little clunky for me. And then I went to earbuds for a while. And then as part of like a channel point redemption, I think for a very short moment, I had them as a channel point redemption because I introduced sound alerts. And they were the most impactful if I could put sound. I was playing games and had some sound alerts that were very like horror driven. I think I started to put them back on when I played Resident Evil 7 because I really wanted to get scared. And so
I really want to punish myself. So.
You know what's so weird? I find that I'm a huge horror fan. And if anybody follows me on Twitter, you've seen I've tweeted this a couple times. I'm like, I'm in the mood to just be terrified. Something like creeps me out. Like what? I don't know why I have that. I think it's very strange, but it is what it is. Extra points if you have in VR. So if you have a horror game that you're like, this will keep me up at night and it's in VR, let me know. Somebody was like, you should play Resident Evil 4. And I was like, Resident Evil 4 is not that scary. The scariest game that I've played so far has been Phasmophobia. And I think they're scarier. I think we can go scarier.
So Phasmophobia, I lost, like the fear levels kind of lost for me because I kind of started turning it into a joke. So like I actually walk up to the ghost now and just like, hello.
Exactly. Like you just become. So I'm trying to find something that will haunt me a little bit. Just a little bit though, not too much.
You know what game would really like be terrifying in VR is Outlast.
I knew you were going to say Outlast.
Oh, that would
funny.
be.
I think Outlast is probably the game that I stay away from. I think it's too scary. I think that might be just too much for me.
Oh man, that game. So when I first played that game, me and my roommate at the time, she had to like have the walkthrough open next to me and like walk me through the game because I was so scared of it.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably going to end up being me. I think it's terrifying. I hate the games that are creepiest for me are the ones where you can't fight back. Yeah, like you have nothing to fight back with.
There's nothing you can do.
Outlast is that,
and you have to run away and hide. Yeah, they're the scariest games.
Yeah, those are the best.
Plates by P asks who your favorite mod is.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, almost anything.
I believe that my mods are all in chat, and I'm not going to do that. You are all my favorites. I love all of my children equally. That is the deal.
Okay, in Phasmophobia, do you use the tarot cards? Tarot cards.
So I don't. Well, one, I haven't. I've just. If you look at my Phasmophobia recaps, I just was spending a lot of time running away, so I didn't know there were tarot cards. But if there are in there, then I will probably. I typically stay away from the tarot cards and the Ouija board. It's a weird thing for me.
Yeah.
I just don't like to touch them in real life. For me personally. So
actually, it's funny about Ouija boards. Like, I personally don't like necessarily believe in the extraterrestrial, but like
what was it?
Ghosts and stuff like that kind of.
Yeah.
But Ouija boards still. Like, I still would keep my distance from them, even though like
terrifying.
In the back of my head, like, oh yeah, ghosts aren't a thing. Ghosts aren't real, but like, there's just like that. Just in case.
Here's my beef with it. I see your logic, but here's my counter argument. Somebody created it at some point back in the day because it was being used.
So like, so that's just the thing that kind of hangs in the back of my head. It's like, just in case, I won't touch it.
Yeah, those are the two things.
What's something in another medium you would like to see adapted into a game? Example, book, movie, TV show.
Oh, wow. Okay, yes. I love that question. There's a show that I recently watched with my wife called Station 11 on HBO, and it's about a post-apocalyptic, post-flu pandemic world. And it'd be interesting to be able to navigate very relevant, navigate the characters and their journey in a game. I think it'd be really, that'd be very interesting. But I love that kind of stuff.
I would love to see my book turned into a game.
Oh, what book?
My book.
You have a book?
Well, I mean, I've written a book. It's definitely not published or at any point.
You have a book?
Yeah, I've got a fantasy story that I've written.
That's kind of cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, well, yes, let's get that. Let's make that happen. And then all of a sudden, Sony will adopt it, and it becomes a movie, and then you're part of PlayStation Studios, and look at you, millionaire, instant win.
Well, yeah, baby steps.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we're gonna have to wrap this up because it's been going for an hour and a half.
My pizza is waiting for me,
and I've got a lot of editing to do. So. All right. So thank you for being here, Clay. It's been a fantastic interview.
Thank you for having me.
It's been fantastic. Thank you everyone in chat for being here, from everyone from Clay's community for being here, and from Quick Save Gaming. As you guys are always here, love to see you guys here in the chat. So as I said, this will be posted on YouTube as well, as you can view it as the VOD if you arrived halfway through. Go ahead and give us a follow if you haven't already. We do Dungeons and Dragons streams on here as well, and then the behind the stream every Saturday with new streamers each week, so get to know different streamers. If you haven't already, go ahead and give HeycallmeClay a follow. I'm just going to give him a quick...
I have one favor to ask for anybody in chat. One favor. Ready? I'm 2 followers away on YouTube from 100 followers.
Ooh.
And I really would love to get my vanity URL. Oh. I'm a very baby YouTuber, but any support there.
You've got more than myself. I'm sitting on like 29, I think, on my channel.
Yeah, but you're a pro TikToker, so you know that kind of balances.
YouTube is hard slog. YouTube.
It is.
You're at 99 now. Jeff just subscribed.
Oh. Thank you so
Hannah,
much.
What's going on?
So
thanks for everyone for being here today. It's been fantastic. Go ahead and check HeycallmeClay out on all the social medias: YouTube, TikTok, Twitch. Give him a follow.
Literally
show him
everywhere.
support. He's an amazing streamer. Clay, is there anybody online in your community that you'd like to raid?
Oh my gosh, I haven't checked this. I haven't checked this at all. That's such a great question. Oh, okay. You all will love this. This person. Their name is Plates by P in chat still?
He is. They are, rather.
I'm going to send you their name. Hold on, let me just make sure that it's here. But thank you for offering that.
Yeah, of course.
Wait, where'd you go? She's currently playing Dark Souls. Really great person. Really great energy. I'm gonna pop it in the chat right now. Here's this. Let me see.
Fairy Tale Felon.
You got that? Yeah.
All right, everybody. We're gonna go ahead and raid Fairy Tale Felon, who is a friend of Clay's. As again, thank you all for being here. It's been fantastic. Yeah, thank you for showing your support, and let's go give Fairy Tale Felon some quick save love. All right, everybody. With that, have yourself a good night or day or afternoon, depending on where you're watching from, and we'll catch you later. Okay.
See you guys. Bye.